what we're going to explore in this session is, at what point did Vanessa and Rocky start their journey with analytics, and what's been the pit stops that they had taken. So obviously they have very pressing scenarios. Obviously, I would let them do their production. You can talk about yourself, your role, and how long you've been with Zoho, and what products of Zoho you use, Vanessa and Rocky. That will be a good start.
Sure, I can start. I'm Vanessa Lewis. I'm the director of marketing at Arctic Spas. For those that don't know what Arctic Spas is, we are a manufacturer and retailer of premium hot tubs, all weather pools, also known as swim spas and cold tubs. We've been around for about 30 years. I've been with the company just over 2 years. And just about 3 years ago, the company has made a big transition into improving our digital transformation, meaning we're looking diving down deeper into our data, learning more so we can make smarter business decisions. I believe we started with Zoho about maybe between 8 or 10 years ago. And as with most people, it started with our CRM. We have now advanced into almost most of the suite we have in Zoho One. At least we predominantly use that on the sales and marketing side of the company.
Thank you, Rocky.
My name is Rocky. I'm director of operations at erase.com. We've been using Zoho with the company for about 7 years, but I've been involved with Zoho. It was just CRM at the beginning. We upgraded to Zoho One, thankfully, and it's been about 4 years. So, erase.com is the world leader in online removals of links. We do reputation management, online reputation management for companies and individuals. So that kind of breaks down what I do for the company.
So let me begin with the fact that both of you, have probably used the Zoho suite of tools for almost half a decade or more. At what point, after the automation journey and everything that you had to do from a process perspective, using the CRM for, let's say, customer relationship or the customer support tools and everything in between, at what point did you realize that you need to start monitoring your business? What was the outcome that you aimed at? That at which point, yeah, the tools are there. There's because you have Zoho One, both of you are on Zoho One, right? So you have all the tools, but at what point did it dawn that, okay, we need to start monitoring, and here are the things that we need to monitor for our business? What was that inflection point for you folks?
For us, it was probably maybe in COVID 2020. That was the big catalyst for us. Our company saw massive growth. We grew rapidly, opened a lot more stores in the US. We have now 8 corporate retail stores. We always had a dealer network that was, we have a lot of American dealers, but that's when we started managing a lot more stores ourselves, where we did need to see combined how much sales we were doing, how well the sales teams were doing, how quickly they were responding to leads. As we all know, in 2020, everything moved digital. So I know that the team worked very, very hard and quickly to improve our digital transformation there. And I think that's what the catalyst that made us pause and say, are we actually getting an ROI and everywhere, every market that we're in?
And besides, you want to walk away from the 37 tab Excel, right?
Yes.
Rocky.
I mean, for me, it was coming to the business. I came from hospitality background, and I was doing 4 and 5 star hotels, and I was setting up all their booking engines. And I realized that like there was for this company, there was no attribution towards the ad spend we were doing and the transactions on the QuickBooks. I would use QuickBooks, right? Ouch. So sorry, QuickBooks. Yeah. So we started to realize like we had Zoho CRM, but I was really lucky. We have Julie, who's our regional director, Julie Doris, and she's just magnificent. And she said, you should look into using Zoho One because it has this thing called Zoho Analytics. And I'm an analytics freak. I love it. So I started to bring in the QuickBooks data. And I said, wow, I can really do some things like overlap this data with CRM data. And Zoho One really opened that up for us, right? So we started to really take a look at like bridging those things together. And 4 years later, like we're able to do it. We're able to make quick decisions on that type of data and look at like who's paid and what campaigns caused it, right? So probably around 4 years ago was when we realized like it opened up this huge new world for us thanks to Zoho One and all the products inside of it.
So both of you are chasing the ROIs, and then okay, so and then sorry,
Of course.
okay,
Right.
of course,
But
yeah, and then so both of you were focusing on marketing. Of course, your story is like more on more external data sources, as I understand. So why don't we talk about what are the sources of data that you kind of bring together inside Zoho Analytics to get the kind of metrics that you're following?
Sure, I can start. For us, from external, we use Google Ads, Google Analytics. We also use QuickBooks. Our accountant team is, yeah, we're working on it.
Thank you.
We're working on
I
it.
wanted you to commit to that on this panel, by the way. Just
Yeah. Yeah, we use QuickBooks. We mainly look at the corporate retail division, so that's one of my main responsibilities. Um, we use Google Ads, Google Analytics, QuickBooks for revenue. We also use Lightspeed, which is our point of sale program that we do use for the retail division. I know they're talking about that. The person who runs Zoho in our company also is trying to push more so, um, so that we use the complete suite. It's better for us. Everything's integrated. Other tools we also use projects. We keep a track of that. We use lead forms, so our forms. We look at social. We use the zip code data that comes in from our lead forms to know where our leads are coming from. And then, for example, we'll take that information and I'll go dive down deep into these markets to learn a little bit more. We also look to see from Google Ads what leads are coming in that turn into sales. And then we push that back out as everybody does back to Google Ads. We use the entire suite that we can, but
it's a lot of data sources.
a lot of data sources. Too many.
How about you, Rocky?
Yeah, about the same. Like I said, QuickBooks was the beginning for us. When we adopted Zoho One and I started to dive into analytics, I realized I could connect QuickBooks smart sheets, right? And I said, well, if I get these data sets together and I can start to get creative, Zoho Analytics I hope most of you use Zoho Analytics. I know a lot of you are on your laptops and you're sort of like half here and half there, but when you take your data sets and you dump them into analytics, it makes it so easy to create and find these overlaps that really enables you to make these reports. So like talking about ROIs, I was talking to Nick, my co-part right down here, and we look every morning at lead form submissions. We look at phone calls, right? And you really want to know like what campaigns generated these calls and these lead form submissions. So really important to sort of like see what the average cost of your campaigns are. I'm getting those. You can't hear me? Sorry about that. So basically, what I was saying is, taking your campaign data and looking at the average cost of what it's costing you to get a lead form submission, what it's costing you to get a phone call is so important, right? But you can only leverage that with the right data. So putting QuickBooks data, financial data on top of your UTM parameters, your sources, your mediums, so important, right? So yeah.
Now, with that comes, I mean, obviously, in your case, for sure, Vanessa, data sources are humongous. So is the case. And if you're trying to bring in data sets like point of sale system data and so on, what was your strategy for ensuring that you had the right data quality? So what was that journey like? Was it like, because in my own experience, being a practitioner in the past, data quality was something that you realized suffered only after you started looking at some of those visuals and charts and saying, this is probably not the way the data should be. It's not like you've day one, you know that my data quality is 100% and you go and look at these reports and then your ROI is minus 700%, right? So at what point, I mean, was it a planned journey where you basically started working on the outcomes and then said, okay, the outcomes is not matching the reality, and then you have to go back to the data? What was that journey like? What was the data quality challenge that you had to address?
Yeah, so when I started, we had a ton of reports, very few dashboards. I would, when I got access, I would look at things and I was like, this metric is not the same as this one as it should be. So I think me coming in at the company at that time was able to pinpoint like, this is not making sense. This is not making sense. And then I would actually go look in the native platform and saw there was inconsistencies. So the great thing now we've cleared that all up is that many people see the same dashboard or a similar one that has a similar metric. So if I go look at my VP's dashboard and I compare it to mine and I say, this metric should be the same as what's on mine, what's happening here, then we can flag it. We just have many eyes on that look at various dashboards and we're all like cued in to be like, something's off. And if we can't find it in Zoho, and we usually work with Phil, he's our main guy in our company, then we go take a look into the platform. We are on a seasonality business, meaning we're really busy from about beginning of March to about beginning of November. So just before we hit peak season, I get in touch with the agency that runs our Google ads, my team internally who runs our meta ads, our web developer who manages all the web forms to make sure all the tracking and everything is done correctly. And I work with Phil, our guy in our in-house, and I say, I just need us to do a quick cleanup. Please make sure all of these are working and firing correctly. We're going to do a test and please flag out any inconsistency so we make sure we're on a schedule. We do a cleanup and then we're going to be a little bit of a lull in June just because it's too hot. People are not looking at hot tubs. So I'm like, okay, let's do a quick check-in. Let's just make sure. But now that we're looking at it almost on a every other day basis, we will notice if there's a drop in something.
Would it be fair to say that this journey also allows you to streamline processes upstream instead of doing it after the fact that the data has come into the system? You're doing the cleaning operation based on what you're saying. Have you been able to fine tune or tweak processes upstream so that the incoming data quality itself doesn't suffer as much as it did in the past?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in constant communication. I'm like, let's figure this out quickly. Let's fix it and then correct it. I'd rather fix something small than when we find out 3 months down the road that it was all wrong.
Again,
That's a,
that's why I call it a journey because data quality is one of the biggest challenges. The
yeah,
reports and dashboards and charts are so easy,
yeah.
but then as long as your data is garbage, it's only going to amplify
Ex-
bad decisions in the company.
ex-
I don't know if this helps Vanessa, but one thing that happened to us is when I finally got access to QuickBooks and I was able to export the data, the finance team was like renaming all the customer names, right? So the one thing that helped us out like 2 years back, Silas that was just up here. I don't know if you were here watching Silas, but he's a genius, right? So 2 years ago, we were on the floor and Silas, my glasses, Silas was like, hey, have you guys tried data prep? And we were like, no, what's data prep? And Nick and I, who's up here, he's my buddy there, my right arm. We basically started like diving into data prep, and we were like, "What does this thing do?" Right? So you can take your data sets, and it'll clean your data for you, like cleanse it of extra spaces. Or in the case of the finance data, they would put the product or the service in front of the person's name, and it was totally like throwing off. Like imagine getting 30,000 customers and all of their names have like this thing in front of it that says like positive reputation management or link removals, right? What data prep was able to do was take the two data sets and then we would like make a correction to get rid of like everything that was before the space dash space, which was like basically the product of the service. And then data prep basically says like, we know what you want to do. Do you want to do this to the entire column? It was so instrumental in helping us save time and cleaning up data that, we've built so many reports from it. It's just amazing, right? So as far as cleaning the data, it was a big help. But before data prep, like getting that data set, like you were saying, it's sort of like you have to overlook it and manually clean it all up. That was a big step for us. To this day, everyone has a style, right?
yeah.
We all have a style. It's not like this is the answer, but it's definitely a big help. Data prep's one. Uh, so yeah.
And along this, when you chart out this journey, how long was it before you actually felt confident that here are numbers that I can put in front of the stakeholders, be it your executive team or people who are making decisions on a daily basis? What was that like? How did that fan out? How long was it before you started this project? Was it 2 months into it that you said, okay, here are the reports that you can take a look at? How did that go for you?
We had some reports and some dashboards, but I would say overall it probably took us about a good 2 months. And then, like, I have to report every week to my senior leadership team. And then my VP has to report every week to his ownership group. So we're constantly looking at the data, and poor Phil sometimes if something is not
It's
right.
pretty much like hitting the gym, right? It's a,
Yeah.
it's a discipline, and then once you
Yeah.
start doing it,
Yeah. Then you get used to it.
I
It's
think
it's p- it's it's part of the everyday for us.
everyone sort of has the same problem, I think, unless everything's in one ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So for us, we have something in Zoho CRM that we call new category revenue, and we basically like calculate how much the customer is going to be worth, right? Now, obviously, like you put that in front of the CEO, and he's like, "Well, then why does the finance team give me this amount for the month?" And the NCR, new calculated revenue in the CRM is so like inflated, right? And there's so many variables that come into play with that, and you have to like describe it. So you're lucky that it took, you said, weeks to
We're fast.
I think it took us like over a year to figure it all out. Like where we were like, why is this so inflated? You know, and it's because people pay at different times, payment plans and things like that.
Yeah.
But it definitely like because of Zoho Analytics, data prep and putting it all together, we started to realize like, yeah, you know, certain people don't pay for 3 months, or the sales team, God bless them, will put in this like in this number that's like, yeah, my customer that I sold is going to be worth $21,000, right?
Mhm.
We probably all have the same story, but in reality, like that person may stick around for like a month or two, and it's not worth the $21,000 that is in the CRM, right?
Yeah.
again, that's the reason I'm bringing these questions out in the first place, right? Again, the tools are there, but the whole process of monitoring a business, it is actually a discipline in itself, and then trying to drill down and understand the nuances. She got it there in 2 weeks. It literally probably took you, probably you said, a year,
About a
right?
year.
So again, it's the same tool. The tool can only go so far. It's the process within
Yeah.
in the journey that's going to be so critical. Okay. Now, you got to a point there in 2 weeks, you got there in a year. How much of this information is fed to them contextually? Like, um, do you share these reports and dashboards? Do they have to come into Zoho Analytics to access them, or do you make it available in CRM for the sales team or this customer support team and desk? Do you embed them contextually, or do you use other means of how do you distribute it to the consumers?
I'm gonna take that one.
Sure.
For us, it depends who's interested, right? So our CEO, our owner, obviously, like they're a big fan of the report that I'm talking about that crossed the CRM data with the QuickBooks data, because Zoho Analytics makes it so elegant. There are these gears that are working in the background with these sheets that overlap your data, but basically, when you get it into Zoho Analytics and you create your chart, it's like, looking at your beautiful watch, your Rolex, because the gears are working in the background, but you can just get a concise breakdown of everything, just look right at it. The beautiful thing is, like, once we had all the data together and it was cleansed, you could go into the chart and drill down into like, okay, we collected this much money this month, and we have something we call a master source, which is basically like, here's Google ads, here's Facebook ads, here's organic, right? And you can go into there and you can drill down by like the campaign or the landing page that they landed on. It's just so elegant. I mean, that's kind of the way that we're going about it. So to answer your question right now, the CEO and the owner are obsessed with this. It's in Zoho Analytics. They basically love the report we've put together, and they rely on it. But anyone can access it through Zoho Analytics on our team. So it's kind of centralized there.
So it's and then do other teams necessarily access this data, or is this mostly meant for CXOs in yours?
Yeah, mostly executives, but if anyone's interested, like obviously we make it available if they're interested in it, but it's usually just Nick and I like obsessed with like, okay, Nick, your Google ads did this, we spin it in certain ways. What landing page did the best? We A/B test stuff. So
Okay.
it's just executives usually. I wish more people were interested. I was kind of like a analytics nerd, if you will, but You know, just CEO and owner.
How about you, Vanessa?
We have a lot of people interested in our data. Um, so we have our ownership group that's very interested, of course. Then we have our senior leadership team. And then we have our directors and our senior managers that always know. Our store managers know what's happening at their store level. So they can easily go into, they have dashboards in the CRM where they can go ahead and take a look at how well their campaigns are doing. Also, I'm always on the phone with them or texting. They want to know, they're like, hey, how many leads are we getting from this? I'm not seeing this. I'll pull it up. Like, I'm always in touch with them, and they will tell me if right there on the floor if something is working or not. So our data can tell us one thing, but they're also telling us firsthand what their experience is. So, for example, in one market, it showed that Facebook was working for them. And when they called and said, please don't put any more money to Facebook, it's really not working for us. It's so much work for that. They're not interested. I'd rather the money go to put that more to our Google ads because that's what's resulting in the type of buyers we need. And I said, done. So it's a the data confirms, but also that person to person contact, which is really important for our business, is also it's also a guiding force for us too.
I'm just going to go off script here. So I'm just going to open up the floor because it's just the three of us talking. It feels a lot of people here are practitioners, and it would be good to kind of get your insights, your questions to us. So if you have any questions, probably the next 5 to 7 minutes, um, I'm not going to go through my script. It's a very scripted panel, by the way, just so you know. We have been working on this for 3 months. Yes. So, yeah, please, any questions, would welcome that. Yes, there's a question here in prop.
Not so much a question, but I'm in the financial operations side of the house. So we operate out of the enterprise, the new cloud enterprise QuickBooks, and automate. We do our revenue fully out of books and the invoicing through Zoho, and then we feed it over. But we had a similar situation where our finance team, you're never going to have control over the account names and customer names. We just connected our QuickBooks Dev ID over into CRM. So we don't care what people name it. We don't care what they do with it. um, we locked them out of that dev ID, so it's just mapped to the ID number and not the name. So it's just a really easy way to know that your data is secure. So that is a very easy way to map it.
Nice. I can visualize what you're saying. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll check that out definitely.
Thank you.
We've kind of gone too far to like go back now because it's clean now, but that's definitely I can see what. Yeah, nice. I get it. I see what you're saying. Nice, nice. Thank you.
Vanessa mentioned, wow, see, okay, not that close. So Vanessa mentioned that there was some reporting and some dashboards when you first came on. What, so we've had Zoho Analytics for, I don't know, a little less than a year. And we have some dashboards that I created in Google Sheets because it was the easiest thing to do at the time and blah, blah, blah. But the point is, what did you find to be the most complicated? Because I find that once people become accustomed to a particular report or a dashboard, then they want to see it exactly the way that they have always seen it, right? And so, w- was there any visualization or was there any analysis that you had done another way that you couldn't accomplish or you chose to accomplish another way? And how did you get over that? Because right now, I mean, I have people who are going to lose their mind if they don't see the speedometer uh graphic, which we don't
Yes.
have, right? So, and I'm like, okay, you can go on with your life without the speedometer graphic, but they love it, right? And they're accustomed to it and they know how to read it. So then, did you find that there was something that you just had to say, you can't do it this way, or we're going to have to show you another way because Zoho Analytics was not capable of recreating what you had had in the past?
Yeah. I would say like our company is 30 years old. We have a lot of employees that have been there for 20 years plus. So they're used to how things was done. I'll say like scrappy. in the past 20 years, 25 years, and now since the latest 5 years, there's been a lot of change and they're hesitant to change. How we've spoken and shared information with them is that we understand that you did like it this way, but this is where we need to go. But then we highlight this. It may not be exactly how you visually like to see it, but this information tells you the exact same information. It's just shown in a different way. And we try and work with them. If they're really hesitant, then kind of say, sorry, but this is the way we're moving. And they usually, it does take them time to get on board, but eventually they do. And then we also, kn- we also know them well enough that if there is something that they know, give them more data of something that they would find interesting. It's kind of like, we can't give you this, but here's an extra like little add-on that we think would be beneficial for what you need to do.
How was it for you, Rocky? Did you have any? I mean, obviously coming from your past as well, where you'd been doing ton of analysis, because that's a great question, right? I don't like if I don't have my speedometer dial, I'm not looking at the dashboard. What's the point?
I would hope with my experience that they would just trust me. And Vanessa, like I just been with Vanessa 2 days, like hearing her in various rooms, she knows what she's talking about. Like when I get in front of people and I'm showing them the dashboards, I have come across, people ask me like, can you present this in another way? Whether it's a pie chart or like your example with the speedometer, like I've come across that where people wanted that. But I think it's a matter of like, hey, I can twist this data however you want, but in reality, like whatever you're asking for, in Zoho Analytics, like at first we did have the pie charts. And then there's so many options in the top left where you can just like select it and so easily make it sideways bar charts or vertical. Um, you know, I think to answer the question, it's a matter of like, do you trust me or not? Like you have me here presenting you with this data. I've put it together. I have all this experience and, if I can't do the speedometer, like you're going to have to live with it.
So, yeah, another point that I want to make here is, again, probably it's probably a question as well. When you dish out these reports and charts, do you make it um, possible within the chart for them to change the chart type? Because so analytics allows you to do it. Most analytics tools let you do it. How much of flexibility do you leave when you dish out these reports? Do you stick to one specific visual and say, don't try to change this, or do you give them the flexibility to change the visuals the way they want?
We give our senior leadership team as well as our ownership group have the option to change the visuals of it. If it's for the store managers, no. We just give them, they don't have time. They're like, just show me the data, give me numbers, because they understand numbers best. And they're just like, okay, is it working? Yes or no? Okay, I see that it's green. Okay, great. That's all they care about.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and ours is like a living, breathing report. Like since the data is coming in, and it's always updating. Like they do have the liberty. Like I've showed the people who are interested. Yeah, you can look at it this way, but I think they've just like become happy with the way it is, and they've just accepted it. Accepted it. So thankfully, but like I said before, I was doing huge hotels, right? These huge portfolios, and you get these general managers of these hotel groups, and they're not as kind. They're not as like easy to deal with. They want, what they want. So you just have to accommodate. If you have to turn the data into something that they want, or even if it's like a simple Excel sheet with like, these are your transactions and here's your sources and mediums, you just give it to them. But my team knows they can go in and adjust it the way they want. Perfect.
Thank you.
Hi. I think it's a follow-up question too. Based on your experience, aside from the report you mentioned, what other types of reports do the executives find interesting towards mostly perhaps living in the same report of the season data against forecasting per se?
Sure.
That's a really good question. So, I think I said before, our KPIs are so important. Ours are pretty simple. I've always been working towards sort of like e-commerce model for our business, But the sales team and we've decided like we're not going to let people buy things online. We'll let the sales guys do it. But like really important is like I said, sources, mediums. We probably all know that. A/B testing, page data, URLs are so important. Like just looking at what type of people are going to the URLs that you're putting out there. Um, I would say those are on my list. You know, I get with Nick every morning, and he's got a sort of different spin on things. He has to look at like the ad spend. We just did it this morning right off the bat. Like, how much did you spend? What are the clicks looking like? What pages are they happening on? You know, I'm around, so if any of you see me walking around and I'm on my laptop and you want to, you know, take a look at some of the reports and some of the things, you know, now that I'm up here and there's a lot of eyes on me, and I you know, maybe I blanked on a couple things, but for me, when I get up, it's, you know, the first thing I do is I'm in analytics. I'm looking at sources, mediums, how many people visited the site, making sure there's no anomalies in the data where there's some sort of drop or train wreck somewhere. As long as I see that that's looking good and people are visiting our pages, you know, I'm comfortable. You know, I don't have to jump on a call or try to figure things out. But if you see me around and you want to hang out for a few minutes, any of you guys, just let me know and we can discuss it. No problem. Yeah, of course.
But that's anything to add there?
Yeah, so for us, first thing in the morning, I too look at analytics as a look at our CRM to see how many leads came in and how many went towards our corporate retail division versus our dealers. It's always going to skew slightly higher dealers just because we have more dealers. Then I take a look at how well our social performed in the day before, see if there's any anomalies there or anything we just need to be aware of. If us will take a look at reviews, that's also something that we look in, and it's very key to our business. If there's anything I need to jump in on, and usually if something does happen online, I'm usually told right away. So I know when to jump on things. I also chat with my web team. They're based in Spain on my commute to work. So my commute starts at 7:30. I'm on the phone. They're telling me what happened overnight. If anything happened, they're fixing things. They're saying, "Hey, yeah, this went down for just a bit, but we got it back up." We're constantly in communication with everybody. So those are the key things we look at. And then also if we noticed there was any page spikes that wasn't due to social or anything like that, usually there's always bots trying to attack a retailer site, so we always have to clean that up. It's constant looking at data. Yeah.
I'm sorry. One thing I just
Sure.
remembered too, that was an important one, was in the CRM, you have this really nice metric. You know, it says lead creation date and time, right? So we started to realize like not to be like auditing and on top of people, but I'm very detail oriented. And, you know, as a matter of fact, I want things done right. So we realized we could see when a lead was created and we could see the modification time, right? It's two different metrics, right? So we realized like, okay, well, we're generating all these leads and we're obsessed with timing when they're coming in and making sure we have a certain amount of leads depending on our ad spend every day. But, you know, that's fine. But how quickly was the next person touching that lead and with what urgency, right? Such a big metric.
Again, at that point, you literally go at what's the time to close a deal, and then how effective each agent is when it
Yeah.
comes to gobbling up the leads.
Exactly.
So, you know, both of you mentioned one word in when we were talking about this. So you said you were trying to um eliminate anomalies. So are you guys? I think it's a question, probably it's a follow up question to the gentleman's question. Have you in this? Obviously, you guys have immersed yourself in data. Have you realized that hey, here is a new metric that I can go show the company, or can I? Discovering a new metric, and then also things like forecasting or anomaly detection, which are like some of the things that you could do in the tool. Have you explored any of those?
Yeah, that's such a good question. So yes, the one that's really important, and it was sort of me stealing from my experience with the hotels. What we created with some JavaScript and some of the metrics, like I just discussed, which was lead creation date to like date time modified. In the hotel industry, I'm not going to say I invented it, but we basically realized that over 800 different hotels, it would usually take someone 28 days to book, right? And you would say like, well, it takes me 1 day to book. But if you take the date that the person landed on the website to the date they booked, and you took it over like 300,000 customers, you get this average, which we call days to book. And we would take this metric to like the GMs of these portfolios, and they were just like, this is genius. This is amazing, right? So, there was a lot of things that would come out of like these date stamps, and they were simple to like calculate with JavaScript, right?
Yeah.
And you could just get like the number of days. And to answer your question, yeah, like those are something to this day we're working on. Like for our customers, it's a different vertical, a different industry. We want to know like how many people, how many days does it take for people to visit the website and then decide on actually purchasing?
And what are the metrics to eliminate? That's a bigger challenge because there's so much you can discover along the way. But again, how does it tie back to your business is such a critical piece.
Yeah, and it's different for every industry,
Yeah.
right? The types of people. It's really interesting. So, it's something we're working on right now. We're just trying to figure out those types of metrics are so valuable, and people are just used to their typical reports. But when you can sort of invent something new and say like, hey, your customers, like this is how long it takes them to do this, like they're amazed with it. You're really giving them something they haven't seen before.
Yeah, I would say very similar when I started. I says, what's the average time it takes for someone when they come to our site to when they fill out a lead form? And then we have that part of the sales process. And I got a chart, and on average, we know it could take anywhere from 45 days to 6 months, I would say, for our entire sales process to go through. Um, for us, our product is a high-end item. It's very customizable, so our in-person contact is extremely important. But we do know when people are looking for hot tubs, there's so many options available. Everything's online, and we don't put price in on our sites at all. So they have to get in touch with us if they do want price in. It can cause a hindrance. It can take us out early when people are researching, and I have spoken to the team about that, but that's a decision above my head. Um, so to counteract that, we're figuring out what to do with that data. So when I started, I says we really have to get people where they are. I said, is there any information we can get on any types of IP areas, things like that? And I will take that data and I will dive down deeper into it, and we will create personas, I guess, in each market to know where they are. And we started layering meta advertising based on the area that they knew where they were, so that if they were thinking about buying a hot tub, we were there. They saw us, or they may not even realize that they did see our ads on Meta. I also spoke with our Google Ads team to incorporate digital display and video ads as well, so that they may have been in their research phase with intent or similar products that we would consider intent. And then we saw that there wasn't an increase in qualified leads. So our lead number dropped per se, but our revenue is up over 30%. So I have to explain to my ownership group and senior leadership team, our leads dropped, but our revenue is up. So we have qualified leads. We also used, we had a 3D builder that you can build your spa on your website. That data from that form goes directly into the CRM. So all of our dealers and our store managers and salespeople can see exactly what they're interested. So when we introduce that, it says, use this information. This is a very hot lead. If you have this stock, you have this spa in stock, call them, email them, however they said they wanted to be contacted. Say it, hey, we have your dream spa right now in store. We want you to come in and test it out. So that's how we
Leads drop a 30% increase in revenue. Holy grail.
Yeah, they still want more leads, but we got more revenue.
Is that a question? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just have a quick two-part question. First, there was a joke that I believe you made about moving on from your 30 tab Excel sheet. First part, is there truth to that joke? And second, were you able to completely move on and put everything into analytics that you had in the Excel sheets?
I know I have 30 tab spreadsheets everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's monthly audits. It's, you keep adding on for different types of customers. So I have to admit it's true.
And I think the biggest competition for any tool on the planet, any software on the planet, is Excel. Be it analytics, be it Zoho Creator, be it Zoho CRM, you name any tool that we make in Zoho, Excel is the biggest competition.
Yeah. Like our team, our headquarters is based in a small town just outside of Edmonton where I'm based. So they had a different IT manager. So they are on like a different system, but now we have one director of IT. So we've been speaking about Zoho with him, Phil and I, very heavily. We're like, we need to merge the two teams because they love Excel. They will never drop it. Us, we're like, we're digital. Let's use other tools. But we're going to slowly get there.
See, I think a point that I can make there is, are we going to eliminate Excel? Probably not. But then I think there are things that these tools can do more effectively. The fact that almost all of the tools, for example, if you take Zoho Creator, you can actually import an Excel, and it can convert that into a application, Zoho Creator application. Same thing here. For you to do analysis, visualization, if you're going to be writing macros and scripts, that's what this one, analytics, can help you with. So if you just use that as a data source, even now, to just kind of create those dashboards and make it more collaborative, because right now you're passing on the Excel to just about everyone. Here, you just basically import the Excel, create the required reports, and then share it as a URL. So it just helps you with that. Maybe that's a simple win, as opposed to having a live database that everybody is editing into, and then you don't know how many of them have edit access versus non-write access and so on. So that's probably a problem statement that you can say, hey, the Excel still is alive, but just that the analysis piece is moved to a tool that's easier for us to collaborate on. Maybe that's a win there.
Hello. Just wanted to ask what was some hurdles or challenges in learning and adopting Zoho Analytics?
Time. Just having the time to dive in, I guess. You just kind of read my mind. I was thinking, like, there's all these great products that Zoho has, and what did it really take to get over the hump and learn them? As simple as, like, especially all of us in this room, we're at this conference, and we're probably paying a little bit of attention to our jobs. I wish I wish I had more time to just focus on these talks, right? But it really is, like, with all the things that we're being asked to do in this day and age, like, we have less and less time. It's rough out there, especially with the economy and the way things are going. So you really have to be disciplined and sit there and say, like, I'm really going to allocate 45 minutes to an hour in learning data prep or learning, Zoho Sheets. I have people on my team they're married to Excel. Like, they just won't stop, right? And I'm thinking, yeah, Excel has adopted AI and it can do great things. But these other products, even Google Sheets, right? Google Sheets, it's coming around. We use Gmail. So now it's like certain people are like, no, I'm using Google Sheets because it's in our Google business account and I can just centralize everything there, which is cool. But let's be honest, if you really want to learn what Zoho has to offer, you've got to make the time to do it. So time is my answer. Time would be my answer. Yeah.
I would agree. As someone who is not like deep dive into analytics, but someone who does need to use it more and more in my job, I do find that I've been dedicating at least once a week to go in, play around with reports, figuring out trial and error, and try and figure it out myself, or go look in the back end but not touch anything to understand how things are built and what I know the KPIs our team is looking for. So
That's a good point. And one thing too, like, at first, Zia, right? Zia is Zoho's AI, right? So at first, for fun, I was like, let me test this thing out. And I'm going to be honest, like, at the beginning, Zia was telling me some very obvious things. I was like, yeah, no duh, right? But lately, I'm still going in there, making the time to, like, let me see what Zia says about all this data I've put into it. And it's, like, becoming more advanced. It's telling me better things. Like, even this week, I was looking in there and it's giving me these observations where I'm like, this thing is getting better. Right?
yeah.
But, like, I wouldn't know that unless I just took the time to
Yeah,
go in.
with AI, right? Every week there's some updates happening globally, not just with Zoho. Another thing that I'd like to possibly highlight here is, one thing that we have tried to do with Zoho Analytics as a platform is try to make it as self-service oriented as possible, right? You really don't have to be a Zoho analyst, I mean, a data analyst or a data scientist to deal with it. We do a lot of heavy lifting, especially within the Zoho ecoverse, if that's what most of your tools are. We already have reports and dashboards that can give you the leg up. You just have to start looking at them. All that you need to do is connect Zoho Analytics to CRM or projects. That's the first step. Whether you want to create new reports or create new models, that's way further down. But it's important for you to know that day one, if you have like even 6 months worth of data, you connect your analytics to any of the Zoho products, you have reports and dashboards, and you know that you can start kind of, plumbing through that.
And I forgot to say, most importantly, like when you do connect your data sets or your platforms to Zoho Analytics, to put it all together, it does require some SQL. You will have to get these tables in, and then you can decide on batching your sources together. You can call it whatever you want, and including them in this batch, right? So, when I'm telling you guys this stuff, it does require a little bit of SQL knowledge, like if you want to like really make it incredible. But like I said, if we're out and about and you see me and you want to discuss it more, like I'm an open book, like I'm just here to help. Like I'm so lucky to be sitting up here and be able to talk with you guys and just share some knowledge. So that's what we're here for, hopefully. So, you just let me know.
Can take one last question? Yeah, sure.
Sorry, going back to your Excel question. So we have successfully been able to eliminate, I would say, 98% of our massive Excel spreadsheets.
Way to go.
The only time we really use it is if I'm exporting the data and sending it off to someone to say, hey, can you let me know? Otherwise, I usually try to send them a live link. So that way they're updating within, if I need them to get the fields, they're just updating it within there. The one thing that's missing from an FP&A standpoint that I would really like to see is when we prep our financial reports, we're summarizing data. And I would like to be able to, some of the tools that I've had is rather than building a query table or doing something, we can almost build our table and manually type in the fields. And then it creates like a live table within analytics. Is that available? Or am I just missing it?
No, it is available.
Okay. Where
You
we
get
just
creative-
create but we just like type it in our
Yes, it's like an Excel interface.
Oh, where is that?
Oh,
I will look it up.
all right.
Thank you so
I'll
much.
help you with that. So we have probably almost time, right? So I do have some parting questions, probably 2 questions. What was the direct impact in your business since you started this process? Have you been able to control costs? Have you been able to, in your case, you already said that, hey, while the leads went down, the quality of leads went up very high. And would you attribute that to the fact that you're doing this analysis? Or, has Zoho Analytics been a part of that decision-making, infrastructure?
For us, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about you, Ron?
Really, I hope I'm being truthful here. I just basically like put the idea together to have the overlapping data, but I really hope it helps us make decisions a lot quicker instead of pulling reports and trying to wonder. Before we had this report, you're just looking at clicks and you're looking at conversion data inside of the ad platforms. Once we had the payment data on top of that, like you could just drill down and be like, this campaign is performing really great. Let's just increase the spend on this one, right?
Yeah.
And let's just get rid of the other ones. So I hope that's true. Yes, thank God. Then I did my job.
Excellent.
Right.
What does the future look like? With AI and everything that you've heard in Zoho Analytics and in general, in terms of where you're taking this project internally, what's the next step for you with what's the future of analytics in your business?
For us, we are going to be leaning a little bit into AI more, using it. The intention for us is to streamline a lot of our processes, make it easier so we can focus on the bigger things.
Yeah. I think whereas AI is very valuable, I have a little bit of a programming background. I will rely on AI, and it's getting better, but I still got to say, I'm older. I don't think AI will be able to do some of the detailed things as far as like a creative director or someone that's running the ads to see these anomalies or these dips. Sure, it can identify them. It can suggest things. But really the human touch is so important. So we'll rely on it more as it gets better. every day I'm so interested in it, and I'm using it. We're using, Chat GPT and Zia. Like I said, I'm using Zia more and more because I'm pretty impressed with it. But in reality, like, I don't ever think AI is going to be able to program perfectly the way I'd need it, hopefully. I wondered if AI created these little icons. I have no idea. But, in reality, we had to have like, hey, AI, create this in a drawing style. There's still things that the human has to tell the AI to like get what you
Hey,
need out of it.
AI only has the answers, not the questions. So we should be asking the right questions.
Yeah.
Anyway, so all that you guys are saying at the end of this panel is go Zoho or go home. Just kidding. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You guys have been great. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.